Um, Firstly, can I just ask about a striker number 9? Lots of talk about keeping more. It didn't happen, obviously. How close were you, or were you in for other strikers as well?
Yeah, look, the 9 position is very similar to all the rest of them, which is you have 3 or 4 targets that obviously you have to try to prioritise, and I think 4 positions is always an area you want to try to strengthen and improve if you can. We went right down to the wire on 3 or 4 of them, and then at the end of it, it wasn't to be for various reasons, availability, and then ultimately choice. I think sometimes finance can get drawn into it, but ultimately, you've always got a choice if you want to go and spend more and more. But there also comes a point where you have to evaluate that against the value, and obviously, on this occasion, that didn't come through for us. So it's not something that we're sitting around in huge frustration, if I'm quite frank with you. We're really happy we improved the forward line. With Remain joining us. And ultimately, we've got 3 players in the building that we believe in, and obviously, we want to make sure they can have the opportunity, and they also need to step up and perform, don't they?
Are you comfortable because you feel that with the attacking players you've got in the squad now, and the way that Michael Beale's been talking, you can create more chances for those strikers that are still in the building to start scoring goals?
Yeah, well, I think for the vast majority of the season, creating chances has not been an issue for us. I think for a vast period of time we've been right up there on the XG and all the various stats that you'd want to look at. It's been around converting those opportunities. I think there's a lot of talk around 9s. I think if you look into the stats and the detail, there's a lot more goals coming from different parts of the pitch in almost every team in this league and in other leagues. So we're really aware of that and what it looks like. But ultimately, we need a team that's functioning. We need different goal scorers from different parts of the pitch, and then you need 2 or 3 players to score some good numbers, and that, hopefully that's what we can start to build on and deliver in the latter part of the season.
And what was you thinking in letting Mayenda go out on loan?
Well, I think there's 2 things. One is around providing opportunity for the players, and there's 2 types of opportunity. There's the opportunity out there within other environments that are comparable. We think that for him and Neck to go into Hibs, for example, I think is similar culture, similar leagues, not too far up the road. I think there's some real positives around how aligned those 2 environments are. And ultimately, the players in the building, you want to feel like you've got an opportunity to get in the team. And I think by having an inflated and a larger squad, players can feel a little bit further away from getting into the group, and I don't think that helps any of the players. So we made a choice based on the attributes that we had to keep Semedo in, and Semedo had loads of opportunities to go out, and I think it's a real good marker for us around how much interest there was in those players outside of the building, that I think really should point towards how talented they are, and we've got to try to bring those boys through. And Eliza's got a great opportunity to go to Hibs, and we wish him the best with that.
And Nectar going, it's a bit of a gamble because Dan Ballard's on 9 yellow cards, Luke's on 8. Not a huge depth of cover in the centre-half position. Are you happy to go?
Yeah, look, I think that was a conversation I think we had on every day for about 20 days because we're all aware of those factors, and that was obviously, bringing Leo in was a part of that decision, bringing Callum in was a part of that decision, and there's always an area of risk with any of those decisions, and ultimately we then have to be accountable for trying to make that judgment call. We certainly feel that we've got enough depth, enough strength in the group. Ultimately, we need to make sure that obviously, ideally we don't get 2 of those out at the same time, but that could happen. The squad in those moments has to step up. You could get 2 injuries, things can happen. Players have got to step up and take their opportunity. So players will get an opportunity, because I think it's probably realistic to say that over a course of time before those cards get rescinded, somebody's probably gonna miss a game. And look, that's what our squad's all about, and we've got to be looking at that as a positive.
As regards Remain and Callum, I mean, how far away are both of them from featuring in the team now? Because I think the Callum deal was on, then it was off, it was back on again, and Remain's not actually played a lot of football.
No, Remain's not played a lot of football in terms of starting appearances, but he obviously has been fully fit, training, came in, did his fitness testing, so we know exactly where he's at. He'll be technically available for selection at the weekend. That'll be up to the coach to obviously pick the team. With regards to Callum, yeah, look, Callum's situation is slightly unique. We had an agreement all in principle on Callum, and then unfortunately he had to go for what would probably class as emergency surgery, but it's obviously fairly minor nowadays, and the medical team and the doctors do an incredible job of that type of thing. So he's just got to get himself back on his feet, and imminently should be sort of over the next sort of 10 to 14 days back out on the grass and available for selection. And that was part of our decision making. Do we stick with that? Do you choose something else? but we felt that was the right decision for us, and we were prepared to forego probably the next game, maybe 2 games, to make sure that he was going to be part of the rest of the games.
And finally, for me, the Pritchard situation resolved itself with him going to Birmingham. When you look back in hindsight, though, it's probably a situation that he could have probably avoided, do you think? It's sort of...
Look, I think I've said in these conversations before, like, these guys are not robots. There's loads of things that affect them. They're just like you and I. We've got home life, friends, family, thoughts, ambitions, etc., etc. So I think in the end, look, Alex has made probably an incorrect decision, which he probably, in reflection, probably maybe thinks he probably shouldn't have done. And look, we all make mistakes in life. Do you know what I mean? I think the first and foremost of Alex is, we brought Alex in because we knew he could be a real complement to what we were trying to achieve. And I think that was a justified decision. He's become a fan's favourite, on the pitch, delivered on numerous occasions for our football clubs to get us promoted. So from that side of it, we were delighted. In the end, it was just a sensible conversations around what's the next best move. And I think he's happy with the outcome. I wouldn't necessarily say we're happy with the outcome because we were sort of in a position where we had to make a decision, but we had to put the best interest of the club first. And I think, like I said, we moved forward. We've got a really, really strong squad. We've got other players in his position that have played in front of him this year, and he's played in front of them at times. So that's as it is.
Kristjaan, the only other thing to pick up from when you were in last week, you did say obviously everyone at the club would have loved to have seen Ahmad back, but you also said it was a huge long shot. And how did it play out in the end?
Well, Ahmad would have been one of those 3 or 4 targets that I spoke about at the start, and we're not in control of any of those factors. I think you've seen, first of all, in terms of the market over the January window, it's been, I think the phrase that's been commonly used, it's been a fairly dormant market. There's not been as many transactions. And ultimately then you're waiting on player availability most of the time, whether that's on a permanent basis or a loan basis. And it ran its course that he wasn't available. He's not turned up anywhere else. We stayed in that for as long as we possibly could. And in hindsight, you could say that was to the detriment of maybe signing another player earlier on. But we felt that was the choice we had to make, and we were comfortable with that choice.
Jack Clarke's obviously under contract. Kristjaan, did you have to fight anyone off at the last minute to keep him here?
Look, we're really proud that we've got a talented group, and I think when you've got a talented group, you're going to get that backhanded compliment where the phone's going to ring on multiple occasions and people are going to try to prize those players away. I think it's a huge success for us to get through a January window, especially where we haven't lost a player of that calibre. You'll only have to look at other teams in the league that unfortunately have lost big players in their squads midway through, and that's not us. And I think that's a real positive for our football club. And look, I think ultimately as well, the lads are really, really happy. I think they enjoy the group, they enjoy everything about Sunderland, and like I said, we'll plod on to the end of the season and see where that gets us.
And Remain, I'm guessing, is the one that a lot of fans won't have heard about. What can you tell us about it?
Well, Remain's a player that we've known about for some time. We were tracking him at Tottenham. I think when he suddenly made his decision to change and obviously not sign at Tottenham, I think that got a lot of people alert. We were one of those clubs. We weren't able to move on that in the summer for various reasons. And then when we discovered that we might be able to potentially get him on loan, and that moved into the possibility of getting a permanent transaction, then we were quick to try to make sure we could get that over the line, because I think he's a really, really talented young man. Like I said, when we've seen him over the previous years, predominantly in under-21 football, admittedly, but even in some of the stuff that he's done over in Belgium, we're more than comfortable that he can come in and be a positive part of our group.
January's just over, but are plans already in place for the summer?
Wowzers! I've just got up. Yeah, look, I think the thing the way that we work is we're always progressing and moving and rolling into the next window. I think ultimately for us, like, with all due respect, the windows between the windows are the really important things for us, where we're coaching, educating, developing our players. They're the biggest areas we can make an impact. I know a lot of energy gets drawn into the transfer window, but for us, the games, players training, getting coached is where the magic happens, if you like, and where we think we can enhance players and progress the group. But I've had a conversation. Me and Stuart Harvey sat this morning just on a real hot debrief on the window and looking just about what do we need to work on over the next couple of weeks, and we'll pick up all that sort of review, player audit process, and before you know it, we're back here again chatting about the summer, no doubt.